got an expression of interest from Ontario. And after that, we applied. In that same October, IRCC had started draws for federal skilled workers. We decided to go with Ontario. And so in November, we got an invitation to apply from IRCC. Hi guys, thank you so much for joining today's video. How are you all doing today? How's your Sunday going? And thank you guys for the love on my last video. It was amazing. Thank you for the likes, thank you for the shares, thank you for the comments, and thank you for subscribing. Thank you guys, I really do appreciate it. And if you have not subscribed, you know what to do, right? Yeah, so my name is Tara Bolade, and today I want to talk about how I immigrated to Canada. I'll tell you the mistakes I made, I'll tell you what I did, so that if you're probably going through the same process as I did, or if you're interested in, going through the immigration process, you can learn one or two things that I did, and you can also learn from the mistakes that I made. So grab your popcorn and your drink, let's get right into the gist. Yeah, so I immigrated through the express entry. I'm sure that's it's everywhere. Everybody knows about express entry. I did that back in just last year. Yeah, but I started the process way back before that time. I started the process in 2017. But let's rewind before 2017. Let's start back from the beginning, my daughter says that. Way back before 2017. I always knew that I wanted to immigrate. The desire has always been in my heart, but I just did not know how and when. I tried to start the process, but my husband said that he wasn't interested. You know those people that will say, no, Nigeria, we are there. That was my husband. But then after a while, I left it. I just put that in God's hands. I actually did pray about it, and that is one thing I also want to talk about when you want to start this process. Pray, 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 pray. Really, is there anything that we want to do that you don't need prayers, and immigration is a huge step. So starting it with prayers, I think, is the most important thing. In 2017, my prayers were answered. My husband just came to me. I was like, Tara, you know that thing you were talking about? I said, yes. Let's do it. I was like, okay, bring it on. Started the process. But before I get right into what happened, I want to say this, guys. You can do this on your own. If you're in the process or you're looking at starting, you do not need agents to do this. If it is through express entry or even through student route, you can do this on your own. IRCC has made this process so easy that you can do it on your own. You do not need an agent. In fact, I know that things have changed, right? Things have changed from when I applied to now. In another video, I will explain and break everything down. How to start, what to do, the resources that you need, like IELTS, practice questions, the links to go, where you can get information. I'll do all that in another video. In November, I did my IELTS. IELTS is the English exam that you have to do. That's either in Nigeria, that was done by British Council or IDP. So you have to do the IELTS, and you also have to assess your degree. Now, I used WEST. There are other bodies that assesses your degree to know if it is equivalent to the Canadian degree. But I used WEST. The three major things that you need when you want to enter the pool. Wait, pause. Entering the pool just simply means creating a profile. There's some questions that you need to answer, and you need to enter some information about yourself. And once you do that, you have a cumulative score. That score will determine if you will get an invitation to apply or not. So I decided to get the three major things that I needed to enter into the pool. My WEST reports, my IELTS results, and my NOC code. I wrote my IELTS in November, and I also started the WEST process in November as well. WEST usually takes about minimum of 4 weeks sometimes. It actually depends on your school, really. But most schools in Nigeria, where I'm from, you at least need a minimum of 4 weeks. It's usually about 4 to 8 weeks. But there are some schools, like some private universities, where you can even take less time than that. Generally, your WEST result is usually out between 4 to 8 weeks. And you need 2 weeks to get your IELTS result. So I would advise that you start the WEST process first before you even think about IELTS, because that takes longer. My IELTS results came out that same November, but my WEST results came out the following year. 2018 was a very somehow year. My WEST report came out in January. I had my IELTS results already from the previous year. I just jumped into the pool. I dived into the pool. I created a profile, and my score as at that time was 424. I was so sure that I was going to get an invitation to apply. An invitation to apply on ITA is when IRCC conducts a draw. So there is a minimum score that they put out, and anyone that has that score or above is invited to apply. As at that time, the scores were in the 420s. I was so sure that I was going to get a job once I created a profile. So I did that in January, and I was waiting. My brothers and sisters, nothing happened. I waited tired. From that November that I wrote my IELTS to January when my WEST report came out, the scores were already going to the low 430s. And I was waiting and hoping that, okay, it will still come back to the 420s, That did not happen. It stayed in the 430s, and as a matter of fact, it went to the high 430s. I created my profile in January 2018. From that time to December 2018, nothing happened. The scores were in the 430s. They were in the 430s. And I was waiting. So that's one thing I also want to say. That's one thing I want you to learn from me. Please don't wait. Don't wait. I say this because things change. Immigration laws change. A lot of things change. While you're waiting, things are happening, right? And I'm sure you don't want to now say, okay, you wake up and you say, let me start this, and you can't do it anymore because things have changed. So do what you need to do. I will say that what I would have done is, when I saw that the scores were not coming down to 420s, maybe probably after 3 months, I would have probably swung into action and find a way to improve my scores. But I did not do that. I was waiting, hoping that the draws would come down, but nothing happened. I waited till December 2018, and like I said, nothing happened. Towards the end of December 2018, my brother immigrated to Canada. And if you have a sibling or you have a family member, maybe like an uncle, a close family member, you get 15 points added to your profile. That's extra 15 points for you. Remember, my score was 424, so adding that 15 points, it would be 439. And I was so sure that I would get an invitation to apply. January 2019, I got my sibling point, like I mentioned. I tried to update my profile to reflect the 15 points, but that did not happen. I sent emails to IRCC. I tried to call them. Nothing happened. There was apparently a glitch in the system. I don't know, maybe it was a bug or something, but my profile wasn't updating. It was still stuck at 424. And do you know the painful part of this thing, guys? That same January, there was a drop. If I'd added the 15 points, my score would have been 439. But that didn't happen. There was a 438 drop in January. You pay me? God. I was so pained. I remember clearly that I said I was not going to do it anymore. I was going to give up and I wasn't going to continue, because what are the odds, right? This is just a sign that maybe I'm just not meant to do this. And I remember I also prayed about it as well. I was like, okay, God, maybe this is just a sign that you don't want me to do this. And I just said I was going to leave it. And then I received a call. I received a call from someone, and he was telling me, he was asking me, he was asking me and saying, Tara, what's up? How are you? And I was like, I'm fine. And he was like, how far with that stuff that you're doing? I said, oh, I'm not doing it again. No, I've left it. And he was like, no, don't give up. He really encouraged me, and after that conversation with him, I decided to continue. And guys, don't give up. Let me put this out there as well. Anyone watching this, don't give up. Don't give up, guys. It might not be very easy. It might be difficult. It might be draining. It might not even be immigration, really. It might just be anything that you're working on right now, and you feel that you're tired, you want to just leave it. Don't give up, guys. Don't give up. Okay, so let's go back to the story. When I got the call, I decided to take a step back and reassess everything. And guys, put in mind that at this time, after that 438 drop, the scores were in the 440s. It wasn't coming down to 430s anymore. It was in the 440s now. And I knew that even with my 439, I wouldn't get an ITA. I wouldn't get an invitation to apply. So I had to do something, and I decided to improve my scores. Now, in trying to improve your scores, let me just also say this as well. In trying to improve your scores, there are different ways to do that. You can either write French exams, you can maximize your IELTS points. Your IELTS point, if for example, if you have a 777 all through, you have not maximized your points yet. So in having maybe like an 8.5 in listening, for example, you have maximized your listening points. So there are certain scores that you need to get to in your IELTS for you to maximize the points, and I have not gotten that yet. So I decided to rewrite my IELTS. I also decided to take a program. You can get additional scores with your degree. So let me break it down. If you have just a BSc, for example, if you do a master's, right, if you get an additional degree, maybe like a master's, that will greatly improve your scores. It will increase your scores. Or maybe just like an additional certification that can be assessed by WES or other bodies. So let me give an example, like CIMA, for example. I know that as at that time, CIMA was one certification that was positively assessed by WES. So there are other certifications like that once you get assessed, I think it gives you like a postgraduate diploma or something like that. And that can get added to your degree, and that can boost your scores. So there was that, and if you want to do a master's, you can do that. Or if you are a master's student and you want to do a PhD, but imagine the time frame of doing a PhD. But yeah, but if you have a BSc, you can do another degree, maybe a master's, or some other certifications. Not all, but there are some selected certifications that you can do that can get positively assessed by the organizations. So I went ahead to get an additional degree. I decided to write French exams, and I decided to write my IELTS exams again. I wanted to do everything. And I wanted to do that because affliction will not rise the second time. I didn't want a situation where I would do just one, maybe get an additional degree, and by the time I'm done, the scores would have been way higher than what that degree would give me when I add them together. So I wanted to get the maximum points that I could, so that if the scores keep rising and I'm still doing them, by the time I'm done, I would get my ITA easily. So that was what I did. Immediately, I went to the school, I registered, for a program, and I started. And towards the middle of the year, I enrolled for my French classes. By the end of 2019, I finished my program that I signed up for. I finished my program, and I was still doing my French classes. And remember, guys, towards the end of 2019 was when we started hearing about COVID. And then that went into 2020. 2020, I finished my program. It was a one-year program, and by February, my transcripts were available to be sent to WES. So I did that, and my WES report came out in June 2020. Beginning of 2020, guys, COVID had spread. Countries were already shutting down their borders. Organizations were already saying people should work from home, and the news was spreading. IRCC stopped draws at a time in the year. They stopped draws totally. And in my mind, I was thinking, what is happening? So yeah, I was hoping and praying that things would go back to normal. After a while, IRCC resumed draws. They resumed their draws. I really can't remember the year, but they resumed their draws. But they did not do draws for FSW. FSW is Federal Skilled Worker. They did not do draws for them, and that was my stream. They only did draws for CEC, Canadian Experience Class, and PMP. PMP is people that already have nominations from provinces. So we were waiting. At that time, I was thinking that maybe our RC was not even going to do draws for FSWs anymore, and I just left it and I tried to forget about it, even though it was impossible. I decided to just move on with my life. I'd already updated my profile to reflect my new degree, and my score was 475. But because of my birthday, that came down to 470. For express entry, as you get older, you lose 5 points. I think that's from 29. Once you clock 29 and then you go on to 30, 31, for each year you lose 5 points. So I lost another 5 points from 475 to 470, but that was still fine because the scores were in that range as at that time. I was just waiting and hoping that there would be a draw one day. Sometime in October, I got an expression of interest from Ontario. And let me also say this is one tip as well, or one point I want to say. When you are in this process, right, whatever you do, just make sure that you're in the pool. Have your high LTS, have your West, have your tier code, and enter into the pool. Just be there. Once you are in the pool, that gives you an advantage, and that's because provinces can change their laws at any time, number one, and it can favor you when you're in the pool. Sometimes people in the pool get expression of interest from provinces. Even though their score is not up to the draws, the IRCC draws, they still get nominated by provinces just because they're in the pool and their profile is what the provinces are looking for. So just enter into the pool. Stay there. While you're there, find ways to improve your score, and you never can tell. You can get an expression of interest from a province. I was in the pool, even though my score was 470, I was in the pool, I got an expression of interest from Ontario. And after that, we applied. In that same October, IRCC had started draws for Federal Skilled Workers. It was pretty high. I think it was in the high 470s. And I was hoping that it would come down, but we decided to go with Ontario. And so in November, we got an invitation to apply from IRCC. I was happy, guys. I was really excited. And we decided to withdraw our application from Ontario so that they can give us our money back. So we sent them an email. They withdrew our application, and we got our money back from them. In December 2020, we submitted our application for the express entry. After submitting our application in 2020, in 2021, the waiting game began. Man, remember it was right during COVID and everything was going really slow. We heard nothing from IRCC. Nada. Zilch. Nothing. Not a single email. Nothing. We did not hear anything from them. And towards June, we decided to request for a DCMS note. DCMS note allows you to know the stage where your application is at. And when we saw that ours was moving, although it was really pretty slow, towards the end of the year, we still had not heard anything from IRCC. I decided to just put it at the back burner and just move on with my life. Immigration is a major life decision, and I know that you really cannot just put it at the back burner because it's a major step you're taking. But I just decided to not focus on it and just move on with my life. I remember God gave me another job towards the end of that year as well, and I just decided to leave IRCC, express entry and whatever, and just leave everything in God's hand at that time. Beginning of 2022, January, we still had not heard anything. February, nothing. And then in March, we got a correspondence. We got a correspondence from IRCC requesting for additional documents. Apparently, it's been like since 2019, December that we submitted. So they needed updated documents. So we sent it to them. And a week after we sent it to them, we got another email from them. And that was our approval. I was so shocked. I was really shocked, guys, but yeah, But looking back in retrospect, I know that our application got approved at the right time and at the perfect time. If I'd gotten maybe the IT at that time, I wasn't ready to immigrate spiritually, career-wise, and in other areas. I wasn't ready. Looking back, I know that God was preparing me for this time. God was preparing me. I just want to say this. Sometimes we do things, we're in the midst of some things that we don't understand. We're in the midst of things that we are working on that doesn't even look like it's working. Meanwhile, God is working for you. You might not see it, you might not know it, but when you go through that process and when you step out at the other side of that, you would look back and be like, so this is why this happened. God is doing something. It might not even be immigration, it might be any other thing. God is mindful of us. He is mindful of us. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. And like I mentioned, I'm going to do another video where I'll break down what immigration to Canada is in 2024, what it entails, the resources that you need, how to start, and all the good stuff. So thank you, guys, and please don't forget to like, to share, and to subscribe. Subscribe, guys, and don't forget to drop your comments as well. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.